Thank you, Carrie. Hey, folks, I'm Nicholas Johnson. I'm the publisher of Axios. Thank you so much for joining us here. We've got a full week of awesome programming up and down the shores of the Mediterranean today. Grateful you're here. Also, we couldn't do any of this without the support of our partners. So huge thanks to WPP Media for being here today. And I'm happy to welcome to join me on the stage their Global President of Business Intelligence, Kate Scott Dawkins. Kate? Hello.
Hi.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
I'm sorry the rosé left with Carrie.
Yeah, right.
But we'll jump into it anyway. Let's start big picture here. I think tell us a little bit about your role, what do you do at WPP, and what brings you to Cannes this year?
I would love to. So thank you for having me. And we do a lot with Axios. So my main role is in forecasting, and we write the this year, next year advertising forecast. So talking about how big the advertising industry is today and over the next 5 years, by category, by channel, really trying to provide insights to our clients, advertisers, about the environment in which they're working and spending money.
Right. And so the recent forecast just came out recently.
That's right.
Pull out some big trends. Tell us what you found in that report.
So I know it can feel a little bit like the news is happening on a day-to-day basis. That's definitely what we were dealing with too in forecasting. Our current estimate for this year, 2025, is 6.0% growth, 6.1% next year. It's not bad. It is a downgrade, right? We were at 7.7% in December, and we've backed off that a little bit, just mainly because of the uncertainty. I think a lot of advertisers are spending, but maybe not necessarily investing in a whole bunch of new stuff while they sort of suss out what's happening in the wider environment.
We can't sit up here on stage at Cannes and not talk about AI. So let's dig deeper into that report. Are you seeing AI trends in there? What do you see the impact of AI on advertising?
It's all about AI, right? There's a lot in there. We talk about it a lot with regards to how we're thinking about the categorization of media. So moving from talking about search as a standalone sort of category to talking about intelligence. So looking at not just search engines, but also answer engines as a way of organizing the world's information, and that being a category that advertisers are going to want to be in, right? An evolution of that category. Using digital agents and bots for shopping. So we asked a bunch of experts. I think there's a lot of agreement around potentially more than half of interaction between consumers and brands being bot to bot. That's going to be intermediated. That's an entirely new reality.
And that's upending the entire industry then. If you're not communicating with people, you're communicating with bots. How do we, how can we be smart about that transition that's coming?
It's a huge question. I think there are a couple of things. One is I expect to see a lot more conversation, partnerships, dialogue between advertisers and the owners of these models, right? I think there's a danger for certain information asymmetry that we need to work out ahead of that. So if you're providing information about your products and reviews and they're feeding it into and spitting it out an answer for consumers, you need to understand what that is, what that looks like, how those decisions are being made. And unfortunately today, I don't think the explainability of AI is actually all that good yet.
But I mean, has anyone even begun to figure that out? It sounds like a complete different mindset. I'm speaking of this from a media standpoint.
Yeah.
It's we're building our websites to react well to search SEO type things.
Yep.
Do we have to re-architect it to now think about how robots read it? Advertisers going through the same thing.
100%. Probably the easiest first thing is just you have, the old crawler for search engines. Yeah. You now have a llama.txt file, right, as a start, at least to understand what they're reading and ingesting from your site. The transition to voice is going to be entirely different. The transition to image search is going to add to that. So the amount of things that advertisers and publishers, I think, have to think about in terms of what information gets highlighted, what the perception is for their content or their products is a big change.
So you look at big trends. How far away is that? Is it here now? Where in this arc are we in the transition?
So I think a lot of it is starting to be here now, right? You have shopping assistants like Rufus on Amazon. You have OpenAI talking about a shopping product as well. Google at Google I/O debuted their AI mode and their digital assistant purchasing. So those aspects are starting to be here now. I will say, if we think about the spectrum of sort of are we super intelligence immediately in 1 to 2 years versus maybe super intelligence somewhere out here in a fuzzier future?
Yeah.
I'm probably slightly further towards that side of things. I think a lot of the LLM and models right now are still bags of heuristics, as you want to call it. So lots of still rules-based. But we're going there very, very quickly. And I think the thing that we have to think about now are the incentives. What are we training in with reinforcement learning now? Because the issue, if we get that wrong, is bad. And
Do you have advice for how advertisers, or speaking personally, publishers might want to approach this coming change?
I think, conversations are a great place to start, and that's what I think is wonderful about us all being together here at Cannes, is to start to have those conversations about how are we incentivizing these models, what does it look like for brands and publishers, right? If we are intercepting traffic before they get to websites, how do we monetize? What does that look like?
Right. We'll spin this forward then a little bit. Like, as you look at the trend stuff, like we're talking about attention here today, like you're talking about robots talking to robots. Then what is next for the attention economy? And do humans get to play a role, or do they not need us anymore?
Humans, absolutely, yes, right? It's one of the reasons why I don't use the term attention that much. I think it has certain issues when you start to think about the terms like capturing attention, is when we think about people and audiences, right? And a goal of advertising being additive and less interruptive. I think there are opportunities for that. I do think we could get into a sort of bifurcation where you have some messages that are really targeting humans and they're on impactful channels like TV and streaming TV and out of home and audio, and a separate set that are sort of targeting bots. And not all bot traffic may be bad, and that's a
but I want to pause. Like, I want to emphasize on that again, because I felt like you were going in that direction and then you went there. Is that we're going to advertising channel bifurcates into messages for humans and messages for robots?
Potentially, yes.
Then what does that mean for, or do we not know what that means? We just have to sort of figure out what are the key touch points to how do you engage a human, I guess, is different than how do you engage a robot.
Absolutely, right? And I think that becomes even more than incumbent on premium publishers to be the place where you can still reach people, right? Think about a brand, a CPG product that's maybe on mostly subscription purchase, right? They've outsourced that to their bot. It's being bought every month, whatever. You're a brand, you want them to either switch products, switch brands, or you have a new product you want them to upgrade to, right? How are you going to reach them in this world, right? You're actually going to have to pull their attention, take a job back from their digital assistant, put it into their queue, their working memory, and get them to make a change, and then they can revert.
It makes the human attention so much more challenging, but also so much more valuable.
I think so.
Well, as a human, I'm very pro-human, and so I'm glad we're still going to have a role on this. This is super fascinating. Before we get the hook here, I also want to end on one fun thing, one Cannes thing. We're at the start of a very busy week. It's starting a little warm. What is the most thing you're excited about in Cannes, and what is your tip for surviving the week?
I think the most exciting thing for the week, like I said, is connecting and starting to have these conversations. Obviously, I do a lot of thinking and writing about it, but actually getting to
Talking to people, not to bots,
yes,
right?
Yes, exactly.
And then how are you going to get through the week?
I like to have something fun every day. So today, you got to wear something fun, feel a little glamorous as you're walking on the Croisette. Like, when else do you get to do that?
Perfect. That's great. Have a great week at Cannes. I appreciate your fun thing. Thanks for being here. Thanks to WPP Media for making this conversation possible. The Big Finish now. Sarah Fisher is back on stage.